So, good day everyone. I am Adrian Sayers D. Ragay and I will be discussing Module 3 Institutional Based Corrections. These are the topics that I will be talking about. Studies on institutional agencies in the Philippines, Code of Calantiao, Bilibid Prison, San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm, Iwaig Penal Colony, Correctional Institute for Women, New Bilibid Prison, Davao Penal Colony, Sablayan Penal Farm, Leyte Regional Prison, Provincial Jail System, and the Public Attorney's Office or PAO. The institutional agencies in the Philippines, the Department of Justice pursues its mandate through its agencies. These are the following: the Bureau of Corrections, Bureau of Immigration, the National Bureau of Investigation, Parole and Probation Administration, Presidential Commission on Good Government, Public Attorney's Office, Office for Alternative Dispute Resolution, Office of the Government Corporate Counsel, Office of the Solicitor General, Land Registration Authority. So first is the Bureau of Corrections. In Filipino, kawaniyan ng mga bilangguan, literally Bureau of Prisons, which was the name of the agency from 1905 to 1989. Abbreviated BUCOR, or the Bureau of Corrections, is an agency of the Department of Justice which is charged with the custody and rehabilitation of national offenders who have been sentenced to 3 years of imprisonment or more. The agency has its headquarters in the New Bilibid Prison Reservation in Muntinlupa. So the Bureau of Corrections handle prisoners who have been sentenced or imprisoned to 3 years or more. So next is the Bureau of Immigration. In accordance with the revised Administrative Code of 1987, the Commission on Immigration and Deportation was renamed Bureau of Immigration, as it's more properly called today. Under this code, the Bureau is composed of 3 structural units, namely the Office of the Commissioner, the Board of Commissioner, and the Board of Special Inquiry. These groups act as a collegial bodies and exercises quasi-judicial powers affecting the entry and the stay of foreign nationals in the country. So, the BMI is the agency that handle foreign nationals who have violated laws here in the Philippines. Next is the National Bureau of Investigation. The main objective of the National Bureau of Investigation is the establishment and maintenance of a modern, effective, and efficient investigative service and research agency for the purpose of implementing fully principal functions provided under Republic Act number 157 as amended. So, the NBI is the agency which is tasked for investigation service. Next is the Parole and Probation Administration. The Parole and Probation Administration, or PPA, provides a less costly alternative to imprisonment of offenders are likely to respond to individualized community-based treatment. So, the PPA provides assistance to the prisoners and rehabilitation and may recommend to prisoner for parole. The Presidential Commission on Good Government, the investigation of such cases of graft and corruption as the President may assign to the Commission from time to time, and the adoption of safeguards to ensure that the above practices shall not be repeated in any manner under the new government, and the institution of adequate measures to prevent the occurrence of corruption. So, the PCGG is an agency that investigates and ensure to punish government officials who were involved in corruption. Next is the Public Attorney's Office, or PAO. So the office exists to provide the indigent litigants, the oppressed, marginalized, and underprivileged members of the society free access to courts, judicial and quasi-judicial agencies by the rendering legal services, counseling, and assistance in consonance with the constitutional mandate that free access to courts shall not be denied to any person by reason of poverty in order to ensure the rule of law, truth, and social justice as components of the country's sustainable development. PAO is a reliable agency that provide free legal assistance for those who can't afford to have private lawyers. So the Office for Alternative Dispute Resolution. So to promote, develop, and expand the use of alternative dispute resolution or ADR in the private and public sectors, and to assist government to monitor, study, and evaluate the use by the public and the private sector of ADR, and recommend to Congress needful statutory changes to develop, strengthen, and improve ADR practices in accordance with the world standards. So the OADR study, evaluate, and monitor for better resolutions in courts. The Office of the Government Corporate Council, or the OGCC, was founded on December 1, 1935 as a government council division under the Department of Justice. To date, it has emerged as the premier law office of government-owned and controlled corporations, their subsidiaries, other corporate offspring, and other acquired asset corporation. So its functions is relating to public needs, whether governmental or proprietary in nature. The Office of the Solicitor General, which is an independent and autonomous office attached to the Department of Justice for budgetary purposes, is the legal representative of the government of the Republic of the Philippines, its agencies and instrumentalities, and its officials and agents in any litigation, proceedings, investigation, or matter requiring the services of a lawyer before the local court systems or international fora. So the OSG represents the government in all criminal proceedings in the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals. Lastly, the Land Registration Authority is mandated to issue decrees of registration and certificate of titles and register documents, patents, and other land transactions for the benefit of landowners, agrarian reform beneficiaries, and the registering public in general. So to provide a secure, stable, and trustworthy record of land ownership and recorded interest wherein, so as to promote social and economic well-being and contribute to national development. So the LRA adopt safeguards to prevent anomalous titling of real property and issuance of certificate title. Code of Calantiao. So the Code of Raha Calantiao was a supposed legal code in the epic history Maragtas that is said to have been written in 1433 by Dato Calantiao, a chief on the island of Negros in the Philippines. In 1990, the Philippine historian Teodoro Agoncillo described the code as a disputed document. Despite doubts on its authenticity, some historian texts continue to present it as a historical fact. In 1917, the historian Jose Marco wrote about the Code of Calantiao in his book Historia Prehispana de Filipinas, or Pre-Hispanic History of the Philippines, where he moved the location of the code's origin from Negros to Panay province of Aklan because he suspected that it may be related to the Ati-Atihan festival. The code is now believed by many historians to have been a hoax and that it had actually been written in 1913 by Jose E. Marco as a part of his historical fiction Las Antiguas Leyendas de la Isla de Negros, or the ancient legends of the island of Negros, which he attributed to a priest named Jose Marco. It first gained scholarly acceptance when Marco donated 5 manuscripts of the fraudulent documents to the American historian James Alexander Robertson. Robertson was a notable proponent of anti-Spanish Black Legend propaganda and had also deliberately distorted translations of Spanish documents of the Philippines in the compilation The Philippine Islands on 1493 to 1899 and 1903 to 1907, co-authored with Emma Helen Blair. In 1965, the University of Santo Tomas doctoral candidate William Henry Scott began an examination of pre-Hispanic sources for the study of Philippine history. Scott eventually demonstrated that the code was a forgery committed by Marco. When Scott presented these conclusions in his doctoral dissertation, defended on 16 June 1968 before a panel of eminent Filipino historians which included Teodoro Agoncillo, Horacio de la Costa, Marcelino Foronda, Mercedes Grao Santa Maria, Nicolas Zafra, and Gregorio Zaide. Not a single question was raised about the chapter, which he had called the contributions of Jose E. Marco to Philippine historiography. However, in 1971, a decoration to be known as the Order of Calantiao was created to be awarded to any citizen of the Philippines for exceptional and meritorious services to the Republic in the administration of justice in the field of law. However, despite this, and despite Scott's findings, changes in textbooks and in academic curriculum were not forthcoming until almost 30 years following the release of Scott's publication in 1969. In the interim, the Code of Calantiao continued to be taught as part of ancient Philippine history. In 2004, National Historical Institute or NHI Resolution number 12 declaring that Code of Calantiao has no valid historical basis called for the official affirmation that the Calantiao Code is a 20th century fraudulent work by Jose Marco. The President of the Philippines ceased to honor retiring Supreme Justices and other international dignitaries with the Order of Calantiao and the revoking of Executive Order 234, which recognized Datu Bondahara Calantiao as the first Philippine lawgiver and declared a Hall of Fame and library to be constructed in his honor in Batan, Aklan as a national shrine. This NHI resolution was approved by the Office of the President in 2005. Law of the Calantiao Code. In his book Struggle for Freedom 2008, Cecilio Duca provides a full reproduction of the code for the reader's critical examination to decide on its own veracity and accuracy. Article 1, Ye shall not kill, neither shall ye steal, nor shall ye hurt aged, lest ye incur the danger of death. All those who this or order shall infringe shall be tied to a stone and drowned in a river or in a boiling water. Article 2. Ye shall punctually meet your debt with your headman. He who fulfills not for the first time shall be lashed 100-fold, and if the obligation is great, his hand shall be dipped 3-fold in boiling water. On conviction, he shall be flogged to death. Article 3. Obey ye, no one shall have wives that are too young, nor shall they be more than what he can take care of, nor spend much luxury. He who fulfills not, obeys not, shall be condemned to swim 3 hours, and for the second time shall be scourged with spines to death. Article 4. Observe and obey ye, let not the peace of the graves be disturbed. Due respect must be accorded them on passing by caves and trees where they are. He who observes not shall die by bites of ants or shall be flogged with spines till death. Article 5. Obey ye, exchange in food must be carried out faithfully. He who complies not shall be lashed for an hour. He who repeats the act shall for a day be exposed to the ants. Article 6. Ye shall revere respectable places, trees of known value, and other sites. He shall pay a month work in gold or money. Whoever fails to do this, and if twice committed, he shall be declared a slave. Article 7. They shall die who kill trees of venerable aspect, who at night shoot with arrows the aged men and the women. He who enters the house of the headman without permission, he who kills a fish or shark or striped crocodile. Article 8. They shall be slaves for a given time who steal away the women of the headman. He who possesses dogs that bite the headman, he who burns another man's son field. Article 9. They shall be slaves for a given time who sing in their night errands, kill manual birds, tear documents belonging to the headman, who are evil-minded liars, who play with the dead. Article 10. It shall be obligation of every mother to show her daughters secretly the things that are lascivious and prepare them for womanhood. Men shall not be cruel to their wives, nor shall they punish them when they catch them in the act of adultery. He who disobeys shall be torn to pieces and thrown to the caimans. Article 11. They shall be burned who by force or cunning have mocked at and eluded punishment, or who have killed 2 young boys, or shall be tried to steal the women of the old men, or the agorangs. Article 12. They shall be drowned all slaves who assault their superiors or their lords and masters, all those who abuse their luxury, those who kill their anitos by breaking them or throwing them away. Article 13. They shall be exposed to the ants for half a day who kill a black cat during the new moon or steal things belonging to the headman. Article 14. They shall be slaves for life, who having beautiful daughters shall deny them to the sons of the headman, or shall hide them in bad faith. Article 15. Concerning their beliefs and superstitions, they shall be scourged who eat bad meat and respected insects or herbs that are supposed to be good, who hurt or kill the young manual bird and the white monkey. Article 16. Their fingers shall be cut off, who break wooden or clay idols in their ulangangs and places of oblation, he who breaks tagalans daggers for hog killing, or breaks drinking vases. Article 17. They shall be killed who profane places where sacred objects of their diwatas or headmen are buried. He who gives way to the call of nature and such places shall be burned. Article 18. Those who do not cause these rules to be observed, if they are headmen, shall be stoned and crushed to death. If they are old men, shall be placed in rivers to be eaten by sharks and crocodiles. So, next is Bilibid Prison. In 1940, the prisoners' equipment and facilities were transferred from Old Bilibid to the new prison, which was officially named the New Bilibid Prison. The remnants of the old facility became the Manila City Jail. The Manila City Jail, popularly known as Old Bilibid Prison, is a detention center in Manila, Philippines. The jail is one of the most overcrowded in the world. So these are photos of new Bilibid of Old Bilibid Prison. So this is an aerial view of Bilibid Prison on in Manila on 1936 1932, and the Old Bilibid Prison in 1900s. The Old Bilibid Prison, then known as Cárcel y Presidio Correccional, Spanish Correctional Jail and Military Prison, occupied a rectangular piece of land that was part of the Mayhaliquis estate in the heart of Manila. The old prison was established by the Spanish colonial government on 25th June 1865 via royal decree. It was divided into two sections: the carcel or jail, which could accommodate 600 inmates, and the presidio or the prison, which could hold 527 prisoners. In 1940, the prisoners' equipment and facilities were transferred from Old Bilibid to the new prison, which was officially named the New Bilibid Prison. The remnants of the old facility became the Manila City Jail. The Commonwealth of the Philippines enacted Commonwealth Act number 67 on 23rd October 1936, which allocated 1 million Philippine peso to build a new prison in Muntinlupa on 551 hectares or 1,360 acres of land in area that was considered at the time to be remote. Construction began the same year. The Manila City Jail began overcrowding at the start of the Rodrigo Duterte administration during the crackdown drug-related crimes. In September 2019, 2 inmates were killed and 32 were injured in a riot that began with an argument between 2 members of rival gangs over sleeping space. At that time, the dormitory in the facility where the fight broke out was housing 800 inmates despite having a 200-person capacity. Due to overcrowding, inmates sleep in shifts. Many sleep side by side on all available floor space and stairways, including in hallways and bathrooms. Some do not have room to lay down and must sleep sitting up. Those who can afford it pay other inmates who act as dorm leaders to allow them to sleep in 2 by 2 meter 6 feet 7 times 6 times 6 feet 7 in cubicles called kubols. San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm. Captain Ramon Blanco, founded by Captain Ramon Blanco of the Spanish Royal Army. It was established for the confinement of Muslim and political offenders. Established on August 21, 1869, the oldest correctional facility in the country. Based on the Buchar's online data, the San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm was established on August 21, 1870 through a royal decree promulgated in 1869 during the tenure of Government General Ramon Blanco. It said the facility was originally established for persons convicted of political crimes. Next is the Iwaig Prison and Penal Farm. Iwaig Prison and Penal Farm in Puerto Princesa City, Palawan, Philippines is one of the 7 operating units of the Bureau of Corrections under the Department of Justice. Governor Luke Wright authorized the establishment of a penal colony in the province of Palawan on November 16, 1904. This penal settlement, which originally comprised an area of 22 acres, originally served as a depository for prisoners who could not be accommodated at the Bilibid Prison in Manila. The Spanish regime had earlier designated Puerto Princesa, Palawan as a place where offenders sentenced to banishment were exiled, often as death sentence due to endemic malaria. William Cameron Forbes, in his capacity as Secretary of Commerce and Police on 1904 to 1909, conceived of the Palawan Penal Colony following the model of the George Jr. Republic. According to Forbes, the plan is to give these prisoners an opportunity to cultivate little lots of land for good conduct and industry. Three classes of colonists were established. The lowest being the newly arrived convicts, followed by a middle class living in the home zone on a 2-hectare lot where they could build a house and live with their family. And finally, the top class living in the free zone, also with 2 hectares of land. The first group of 61 convicts arrived in November 1904, with the population reaching 313 prisoners in June 1905 and 446 in June 1908, plus 20 families. So, the Correctional Institute for Women. The Correctional Institute for Women is a women's prison located in Mandaluyong, Metro Manila, Philippines. The prison is operated by the Bureau of Corrections. The prison first opened on 18-hectare property on February 14, 1931. Previously, women were held at the old Bilibid prison, but they were transferred there in Mandaluyong, Metro Manila. The Correctional Institute for Women has 3 different camps, namely the maximum security compound, which consists of the old and new building, the medium security camp, and the minimum security camp. When the Philippines had the death penalty, female inmates condemned to death were held at CIW, or the Correctional Institute for Women. Ron Glackman of Asia Week described the women's death row as appearing like a secondary school. Due to the increasing inmate population, more prisons and penal colonies were created and placed under the supervision of the Bureau of Prisons, namely the Correctional Institute for Women in Mandaluyong, Rizal, established in 1931 by authority of Act No. 3579, purposely to confine female national offenders. The Davao Penal Colony on 21st January 1932 in accordance with Republic Act No. 3732 and Proclamation 414 Series of 1931. The old Bilibid prison was transferred to Muntinlupa in 1935 and was renamed the New Bilibid Prison in 1940. The Sablayan Penal Code in Mindoro Occidental was established on 27 September 1954 under Proclamation 72, and the Leyte Regional Prison was established on 16 January 1973 under Proclamation 1101 with approval of PD President 28 on 25 October 1972, which established the regional prisons. All existing national penal institutions were converted into regular prisons and penal farms. On 14 February 1931, the Correctional Institution for Women was born. It is administered and managed by a penal superintendent. It was the sole institution dedicated to women offenders serving more than 3 years imprisonment. So, the New Bilibid Prison. The New Bilibid Prison, or NBP, in Muntinlupa, Metro Manila is the main insular penitentiary designed to house the prison population of the Philippines. It is maintained by the Bureau of Corrections or the Bucor under the Department of Justice. As of November 2021, the NBP housed 28,545 inmates, which exceeds its ideal capacity of 6,435. In 1940, the Commonwealth government transferred prisoners to NBP from the old Bilibid prison. Spanish Cárcel y Presidio Correccional, or the Correctional Jail and Military Prison in Manila. The remnants of the old facility were repurposed by the City of Manila as its own detention center, known today as the Manila City Jail. The penitentiary had an initial land area of 551 hectares or 1,360 acres, but 104 hectares or 260 acres were transferred to a housing project of Department of Justice. Failed verification additional land of the NBP reservation is used for the Bureau of Corrections headquarters. During Japanese occupation of the Philippines during World War II, Bilibid was a prisoner of war and civilian internee camp where American soldiers and civilians were held by the Japanese. 1,200 internees and POWs were freed by the American Army on February 4, 1945 during the Battle of Manila. The government of the Philippines plans to create a regional prison in Nueva Ecija through a public-private partnership. The new Bilibid prison consists of 3 compounds: the maximum security compound, which houses inmates serving a prison sentence of more than 20 years, the medium security compound, which houses those serving less than 20 years, and the minimum security compound, which houses those close to completing their sentence or are 70 years old and above. The Davao Penal Colony. Davao Prison and Penal Farm, formerly the Davao Penal Colony, was established on January 21, 1932 in Panabo City, Davao del Norte, Philippines. It has a land area of 30,000 hectares with a prison reservation of 8,000 hectares. Governor Dwight Davis on October 7, 1931, Governor Dwight Davis signed Proclamation 414, which reserved a site for penal colony in Davao Province in Mindanao, and on January 21, 1932, the Davao Penal Colony was formally established under Republic Act No. 3732. The Japanese Imperial Army attacked Davao on December 20, 1941, and the colony was among establishments that were taken over by the Imperial Army. Major products: abaca, banana, rice, copra, cattle, and other farm products, and now the biggest abaca plantation in the country. 2,000 American prisoners were held in the penal colony after Japan's conquest of the Philippines in World War II. Some of the prisoners, survivors of the Bataan Death March, escaped in spring 1943. So, when the 12 men escaped, later joining Wendell Fertig's guerrillas, the Japanese beheaded 25 prisoners. Major Stephen Melnick of Douglas MacArthur's Southwest Pacific Area Command inserted the M1SX intelligence officer Captain Harold Rosenquist into Mindanao in an attempt to rescue the Americans before they could be moved. However, the Japanese had already evacuated the camp, placing the American prisoners on a ship bound for Japan. However, the ship was sunk by an American submarine, and only 83 reached shore and were rescued by guerrillas. Next is the Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm. Nearer to Manila than other penal colonies, The Sablayan Penal Colony is located in Occidental Mindoro and relatively new. Established on September 26, 1954 by virtue of Presidential Proclamation Number 72, the penal colony has a total land area of approximately 6,190 hectares. The Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm, or the SPPF, is situated at Sablayan, Occidental Mindoro. It was established by President Ramon Magsaysay through Executive Order Number 547 on January 14, 1954. Prison records show that the first colonists and employees arrived in Sablayan on January 15, 1955. Since the several buildings have been constructed including the colonies, dormitories, employees' quarters, guardhouse, schoolhouse, chapel, recreation hall, and post exchange. Prisoners are allowed to build their nipa huts, and since it is a mixed different religion, churches and worship houses were constructed to cater various religions of the prisoners. So various places for worshiping were constructed at the prison also. Some inmates were also allowed to have their wife or husband to live with them inside the colony. This evident by some playground around the area. So, husbands or wives of the prisoners were allowed to live with them at the prison. Sablayan Prison is a facility where prisoners from NBP are brought for decongestion purposes. It follows the same colony standards as other penal farms. Unlike any other or the usual penal colony, the prisoners are almost enjoying their freedom. Instead of being locked down inside concrete structures with metal bars, they can roam around the area without so much restriction. They are also made to till the land area so as to have their own supply of at least basic food requirements for during their stay. So they were also allowed to plant vegetables to supply their own at least basic food. They were given a land area to plant. 3 sub-colonies were later organized. One is a reservation which this day remains part of a protected rainforest. Another is in a coastal area. The third was used by the national government as a relocation site for refugees from the eruption of Mount Pinatubo eruption in 1991. Next is the Leyte Regional Prison, or the LRP, was created by virtue of President Number 28 and was established on January 16, 1973 under Presidential Decree Number 1101. It is located in Barangay Mahagna, Abuyog, Leyte, some 66 kilometers from Abuyog town proper. It is situated on a 861.66 hectares forested area on top of a mountain, surrounded by mountain ranges. It is also composed of 2 communities, the enclosed community and the open community. Prisoners who are in the enclosed community are those who belong to the medium and maximum security, while prisoners who are in the maximum security belong to the open community. It was built to receive, confine, secure, and rehabilitate convicted criminals classified as national prisoners, whose sentences range from 3 years and 1 day imprisonment or above. Most prisoners came from the Region 8, comprising the provinces in the islands of Samar, Leyte, and Biliran. As of March 19, 1997, there are about 980 prisoners housed in this regional prison, with 204 at the maximum security. 550 at the medium security, and 226 at the minimum security prison. Prisoners within the prison compound are usually engaged in handicrafts, while those who are living out prisoners are engaged in farming and also in handicrafts making. Others are household helpers who receive some simple tokens and small compensation. So these are images of prisoners farming at the penal farm. Problems identified at the LRP are as follows. Living conditions in the medium and maximum barracks are below human standards with regards to shelter and facilities. Why? Food provisions are distributed by ration system at a budget of 20 pesos per day per inmate. Hospital facility is a dilapidated improvised building with makeshift wooden beds and inadequately supplied with medicines and equipments. Lacks nutritional facility and the services of qualified nutritionist or dietitian, inadequate hygiene and sanitation installations, and lacking of jail guards. Ideally, 1 guard is to 6 prisoners, but presently it's 1 to 28, 1 guard and 28 prisoners, and sudden increase in 1996 mortality rate. Abuses present at LRP. One is the maltreatment committed against the prisons by the mayores of the pangkat. So mayores of the pangkat are the leaders on that cell, on that specific cell inside. And it is committed usually against those who violated the prison rules and regulations. It is inflicted through first blows, use of batuta, with withholding of food ration and suspension of privileged visits from inmates, families, relatives, and friends. So if a prisoner committed or violated a prison rule, he will be punished of batuta and the withholding of food ration and suspension of privileged visits. So his family members or relatives or friends cannot visit him for a certain period of time. Inmates violators are usually placed at the disciplinary cell for a certain period upon the discretion of the prison authorities through the mayores recommendation. So they were also usually put to disciplinary cell, or yes, and they can only go out if the mayores recommend it. Another is maltreatment inflicted by the prison authorities employees against those living out prisoners, especially those who worked as household helpers. Small mistakes might even cost their life because of beatings or pambubugbog. So authorities like prison guards also abuse the prisoners by beating them. Provincial jail system. Provincial jail system was first established in 1910 under the American regime, supervised and controlled by the provincial government and headed by the provincial jail warden. So the vision is an installation managed by God-centered professionals and trained personnel to serve as the principal catalyst for rehabilitation or restoration that leads to reformation of the social, physical, and spiritual aspects of persons being detained to develop as law-abiding citizens for eventually reintegration into the mainstream of society. The mission. So the office of the provincial warden shall promote safe and total detainment and rehabilitation or restoration of detainees under its custody. So goals and objectives. So the office of the provincial warden is committed to carry out effective implementation of all programs, projects, and activities relating to jail detainment and rehabilitation of prisoners being sentenced, detained, or held for trial by the Court of Justice. Develop and attend to the welfare of detainees in the provincial jail by providing subsistence and other welfare benefits and through provision of jail decongestion program. Provide protection services and prepare the inmates socially, physically, mentally, and spiritually to become productive citizens for their eventual reintegration into the mainstream of society upon pardon of release. On the other hand, provincial jails are under the supervision of and control of the provincial government. It appears that provincial jails which are directly under the supervision of and control of the provincial government have better facilities and are better managed as compared to that of the city and municipal jails. Provincial prisoner. One who is sentenced to a prison term of 6 months and 1 day to 3 years. 3 years city prisoner. One who is sentenced to prison term of 1 day to 3 years. And 4. Municipal prisoner. One who is sentenced to a prison term of 1 day to 6 months. Difference between provincial jail and BJMP. Currently, local jails are under the jurisdiction of two different authorities. City, municipal, and district jails are under the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology or the BJMP, while provincial and sub-provincial jails are under the concerned provincial government. The provincial jails shall be supervised and controlled by the provincial government within its jurisdiction, whose expenses shall be subsidized by the national government for not more than 3 years after the effectivity of this Republic Act number 6975. Next is the Public Attorney's Office. So, the Public Attorney's Office or the PAO is an attached agency of the Department of Justice which provides indigent litigants free legal assistance and mandated on September 21, 1972 by President Ferdinand Marcos. Signed Presidential Decree Number 1 creating the Citizens Legal Assistance of Office or CLAO. The Public Attorney's Office or PAO, an agency under the Department of Justice, was also established to provide legal representation to individuals who either have no income or are below certain income thresholds in civil, criminal, and administrative cases. So they provide free legal representation for individuals who cannot afford legal representation or lawyers. PAO Vision. By 2023, the Public Attorney's Office as the principal law office of the government shall be composed of highly motivated, effective, and empowered public servants, consistently responsive to the ever-growing legal needs of the indigents and other qualified persons, utilizing modern facilities, information technology systems, and tools needed for efficient delivery of free legal aid services to promote access to justice, truth, and peace. The PAO's vision. The Public Attorney's Office exists to provide the indigent litigants, the oppressed, marginalized, and underprivileged members of the society free access to courts, judicial and quasi-judicial agencies, by rendering legal services, counseling, and assistance in consonance with the constitutional mandate that free access to courts shall not be denied to any person by reason of poverty in order to ensure the rule of law, truth, and social justice as components of the country's sustainable development. Next is the powers and functions of PAO. The PAO shall independently discharge its mandate to render free of charge legal representation, assistance, and counseling to indigent persons in criminal, civil, labor, administrative, and other quasi-judicial cases. Who can avail of PAO services? Republic Act No. 1 and Republic Act No. 6035, the PAO is mandated to represent free of charge indigents and other persons qualified for legal assistance in all civil, criminal, labor, administrative, and other quasi-judicial cases where after due evaluation it is determined that the interest of justice will be served thereby. Special power of attorney form. You can check the Philippine Embassy's website. Here's website. The basic fee is 500 peso per hour for plain consultation. Research would cost 500 per hour. A monthly retainship should start at 5,000 pesos. The acceptance fee of a lawyer to defend a person accused in a criminal case starts at 30,000 pesos for the lowest level court such as the municipal trial court in cities. The seed, as it were, of the PAO was planted on August 30, 1954 when RA number 1199 created the Agricultural Tenancy Commission, which was later named as Tenancy Mediation Commission or the TMC, with the passage on August 8, 1963 of RA number 3844, otherwise known as the Agricultural Land Reform Code or TMC, was further strengthened and renamed as the Office of the Agrarian Council or the OTAC. And that's all.